Assuming you read the title, clicked on this video, and the fact that I'm way too lazy to compose an actual intro, let's get together and find out what the hell happened to Lieke Martens. When talking about Lieke Martens, it's pretty obvious to pinpoint where and when exactly she burst onto the scene. If you have forgotten or are somehow unaware, it is Martens' display of excellent form at the 2017 Euros, where alongside fellow attackers Vivianne Miedema and Shanice van der Zande, that Lieke would steal the show in impeccable fashion and would go on to play a key role in that lethal Dutch front line that would go on to take the tournament by storm, beating Denmark by 4-2 in the final, winning the Euros on home soil. What followed was an instant ascent into stardom, being named Player of the Year by FIFA and UEFA, attending lavish award ceremonies with Portuguese great Cristiano Ronaldo.
When I was young, I always looked to Ronaldinho, and in Holland was it. Sorry, I like you. Now I really like Ronaldo and Messi. They're like No, sorry, I didn't mean like that.
Getting on the cover of magazines and tabloids, mega money brand deals and the whole shebang. With that one tournament, Lieke not only became the shining star and icon of women's soccer in the Netherlands, she also became the main target on the shopping list of clubs during the summer transfer. Quite logically, a monumental move to FC Barcelona was realized. The Dutch international would go on to spend 5 seasons at Stade Johan Cruijff, 4 of which were undeniably world-class. In her debut La Liga season during the 17-18 campaign, she would contribute 11 goals and 8 assists in 26 appearances. During the 18-19 campaign, she would record 11 goals, 7 assists in 23 appearances. And again in the 2020-21 league campaign, 15 goals, 10 assists in 25 appearances. And then in her final season at Barcelona, which is her greatest individual statistical season to date, with 17 goals and 12 assists in 21 appearances. In Spain, she would win 3 consecutive league titles, 7 Spanish cups, and was among the stars in the Barca team that won their first ever Women's Champions League title, in which we saw them utterly wipe the floor with Chelsea, as we witnessed Lieke Martens bombing down the left flank, running what is essentially the entire length of the pitch to secure a 4-0 victory for the Catalan Giants. And that was that. The end of a chapter. She might have as well just hung up the boots there and then, because at the tender age of 29 years old, Lieke Martens was officially finished.
Congratulations, you just peaked. It's all downhill from here, honey.
People often like to speculate that her downfall was initiated by that transfer to PSG. But for today's video, we will get together and try and dislodge this in an attempt to analyze a chain of factors that contributed to her eventual demise into mediocrity. Lieke Martens at her peak was on a similar wavelength to the level that Caroline Graham Hansen is operating at right now. Both exceptionally quick and skillful Barcelona wingers, who are on their day quite obviously among the top players in world football. Both obviously very technical balls, which logically makes a lot of sense, because had they been just some overhyped pace merchants with all but the first touch of a broken toaster, they wouldn't have racked up hundreds of appearances for Barcelona. On the surface, it seems that Martens' physical decline is certainly comparable with Wayne Rooney's in the men's within game. A 4-year time span from 2012 to 2016 seemingly had lost all his physical prowess. But rather, I'd like to argue that Lieke Martens' persistent injury woes are somewhat reminiscent of Eden Hazard levels of suffering. Analyzing her injury record will probably give us more insight into why, within a time span from 2019 to 2023, injuries were the catalyst in transforming a once speedy, skillful winger into a physically crippled, injury-prone mess. In November of the 18 2019 season, Martens would miss 5 games due to a hamstring injury. In September 1920, she wasn't available for Barcelona's start to the campaign, as she missed their first 12 games of the season due to a toe injury sustained at the World Cup.
Natuurlijk, er was er nog
Wat
eentje,
is er met die Martens aan de hand, joh?
Een beetje geblesseerd volgens mij, toch?
Is die zwanger of zo?
Dat kan toch niet? Je kan toch niet 5 maanden aan een teen geblesseerd zijn?
Nee?
Volgens mij niet. Het gaat nog steeds over die teen van het WK.
Later in October of the same year, she would miss an entire game week in La Liga due to an overload injury sustained in her left leg. In March of the 21-22 season, wouldn't only receive another hamstring injury, but would recover from said hamstring injury, only for her to relapse into another successive hamstring injury, causing her to be sidelined for another 12 games near the business end of Barcelona's campaign. In July of the 2022-23 season, she would be prematurely ruled out of the 2022 Euros due to another foot injury, but also forced her to the sidelines, deeming her unavailable for the quarterfinals against France, and postponed the debut for her new club PSG. And finally, as recently as November of this season, she was out for 15 days following a muscle injury, meaning that due to injury, Lieke Martens has missed over 30 game weeks within a 5-year time span.
12. Ah, my knee! My knee! Why? Why?
We've also got to take into consideration that Lieke has been playing professionally for over 15 years joining now Dutch club SC Heerenveen at the tender age of 16, and has made over 500 appearances for club and country thus far. Point I'm trying to make here is that people often underestimate how hard it is for a winger to experience frequent spells of injury woes, as we need to realize that wingers are most reliant upon their physical attributes over anything else. See, wingers have to be 110% fit to have the necessary physical edge to seamlessly fade in and out of tackles and execute agile turns across the pitch to be able to compete at the highest level. When questioned about the potential effects of fatigue due to schedule congestion, she herself stated, and I quote, "I've played just about everything in the last 5 or 6 years. Hence, it is no coincidence that so many women of my generation have suffered serious injuries. It was just too much for everyone who competed for the prizes, including myself. This apparent physical deterioration is imminently reflected in Martens' recent scouting report. Because when we compare the old Lieke Martens with whatever over-the-hill burnt-up cheesecake we got you now, immediately notice a worrying lack of progressive carries, for which she only ranks into the 28th percentile, an exorbitant decline in terms of her touches in the final third and opposition penalty area, and a dramatically decreased amount of crosses put into the box, going from averaging 11 to now just 1 a game. Quite worrying for a winger, if we can even call her that anymore. The stats I just mentioned are quite concerning at the very least for someone who is supposedly among the top attacking players in all of women's football. Following this drastic change in playing style and apparent physical decline, what inevitably followed was uncharacteristically bad performances and a significant drop in output. At Euro 2022, for example, she would only end up registering 1 petty assist in the entirety of the tournament and was quite simply lackluster. Personally, I vividly remember this being the first time that Dutch fans noticed a visible drop-off in Martens' footballing abilities, during which the football analysts at the NOS summarized the lack of impact at the tournament perfectly, with Leone Stendler stating the following: "I feel like she's really struggling because she's coming back from injuries. It's a longer process than we all expected. Within the 10 minutes she played, 18-year-old Eredivisie rookie at the time, Esme Brucht, shows more than Martens in 80 minutes of game with time." With fellow analyst Manon Melis adding the following: "She is barely present at the tournament and rightfully so got subbed off for Esme Brucht. Esme completed more dribbles in a 20-minute cameo of the bench than Martens did in 70. Then again, I'll give her a pass here because she was a bit scapegoated in the media, and Mark Parsons' tenure as Holland coach was very questionable, to say the least. Anyway, after the Euros, Martens made a blockbuster move to the capital of France, signing a 3-year deal with French football giants PSG. And looking at the statistics she is racking up in the capital of France, it's safe to say
and you are a fraudster. Finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. Wallahi, you're finished. Wallahi, you're finished.